Okay, perfect. So recording has started. Welcome everybody to the October edition of JoziPUG. For those of you who are on the call earlier, we are looking at rebranding. So it's not just going to be Johannesburg Power Apps user group. We are going to look at doing something more around SA, since we've got people from the Cape Town branch coming through as well. And we're going to be focusing more on the Power platform as a whole. Just a couple of things before we get started. Just make sure you are staying on mute unless you are asking a question. That being said, especially for the new people on the call, if you do have a question, please don't hesitate to come off mute and ask. Also use the raise hands feature or the meeting chat. We will be keeping an eye on both of them. All the sessions are recorded since we've been virtual, and we are uploading these to our YouTube channel. The link should be displayed on the top of the page at the moment. So just grab that link, you'll get access to the channel, and you'll see all the previous videos which we've been uploading for the past couple of months. And this recording will probably be up in the next day or two. So if there's something that you missed or you want to go back and look on, please feel free to go and check there as well. Okay. So just the agenda for tonight. I'm going to be taking you through the news. Wait, have we lost the agenda? For some reason, my agenda's not coming up. Okay, well, for some reason, my agenda's not showing, but essentially what we're going to be running through is in the news. I'm going to take you through some of the new items that are coming in. We had Ignite last month, and there was a lot of new announcements that came out. So I'll be taking you through some of the key ones, some of the more interesting ones. Then Monet is going to be taking us through omnichannel and why it is important. He said he's not going to be longer than, what was it, 4 hours, Monet, so we should be good. And then we will be covering tip of the month. I'll be taking you through some of the new Teams features coming into Power Apps, show you how you can get started with that and start playing around some of the new preview features, which is quite cool. And then we'll finish off at the end with Michael's cookbook. Okay, so Michael, I'm sure you've got a scenario that you want to take us through again tonight. And then we'll close off with general questions and answers at the end. Okay. So to get started, just one thing, if it does look like the video is cut off, just right click on the video window and say fit to frame. That way you can make sure that you are getting the entire item in from there. Okay. So with that, let's have a look at what's been in the news. So first off, as I mentioned, we had Ignite recently. There was a lot of great features that came out there, a lot of great new announcements that were mentioned. And what we've done is we've created what we call the Ignite Book of News. This is a one-stop shop to go and have a look at all the announcements that have happened, all the new features coming in, as well as links to all the articles and everything else from there. So if you don't want to troll through all the information from Ignite, this is a nice index to go in and have a look and see what there was. And then just get a bit more insights on the areas that you are focused in. So it's definitely worthwhile to go in and see what has come out and what new things are there. So check it out. Now, as I mentioned, the Teams feature within Power Apps, what was previously Dataflex and what we were referring to internally as Project Oakdale, is now in public preview. So you now have the ability to start bringing in your applications directly into Teams in a much more seamless way. You can leverage all the capabilities of having separate environments for each team, creating apps for each team, integrating Power Automate, and a lot of additional features. And I will be showing you this in the tech tip later on how you can get started. We also have the, thanks for Michael for posting that in the chat window. We've also got Power BI directly integrated into Teams. So in the past, you would be able to add a Power BI tab into a Teams channel, which was great. It helped a lot. But now we're bringing in the entire Power BI online portal directly into Microsoft Teams. So it's giving you a lot more flexibility, more access without having to leave Microsoft. Well, without having to leave Microsoft Teams. You don't have to go open up a browser, go do other things. So it's bringing a lot of insights here, and you can work on files directly in Microsoft Teams to start getting insights out of there. So a lot of great features in there, and you're starting to see a trend here. We're starting to bring everything into Teams. And I think that's going to be the way forward. It's going to be that landing strip into everything else we do in our day-to-day lives. Now, the other one, which was also quite interesting, was the launch of the Power Automate desktop application. Now, this is with our acquisition of One Automate. We've brought that into a new tool set now. I actually ran a course 2 weeks ago on this new interface, and it's definitely improved drastically over the last one. You have a lot more flexibility. It's a lot more easier to use and understand. So download it, check it out, and this helps enable RPA capabilities within Power Automate. So check it out, download it, play around with it. There is an RPA in a day course that takes you through this entire interface. So bringing in, recording all your steps within the item, creating additional entities, making sure you can map values to those entities, and how you work with calling these UI flows from the Power Automate side. So check it out. Really great to play with and use. Just one note, remember it is currently in preview, so there might be some couple of changes before it goes GA. Another great announcement that came out was the API management connector for Power Platform. So this is when you are working with custom connectors. Now, in the past, you had to go and build out that custom connector within the Power Apps portal. Now you have the ability to do it straight from the API management console within Azure. So you can go and create your API into your application, and then directly from there, there's an option for you to export that connector into Power Apps. So that way you can enable the connectors into your line of business applications very quickly, very easily, so everyone can start leveraging them. So check this out. This is going to be available this month. You should start seeing it actually, and then you can start leveraging some of the features and functions out of there. Last one now I wanted to mention was we've got now direct integration with GitHub. So for pro developers out there who want to make sure that they're following their full application lifecycle management processes and they're utilizing GitHub, we now have a bunch of actions available to help enable that process end to end. So whether it's importing the solution, exporting it, unpacking it, moving it between environments, creating that full build and release pipeline, that is all available to you now. I've actually had a number of requests for this for the last couple of months, specifically from pro devs who are used to following a proper development cycle and are used to be able to go and pull previous releases when they've made a mistake or they've updated something that they shouldn't and they need to roll back, or they want to follow their normal guidelines. They now have that ability. Once again, it is still in preview. Okay. So with that, I just want to open it up to the floor and see if there's any other news that anyone has maybe heard of or wants to mention or bring up. Okay, so Michael, yeah, shot for sharing that RPA session from Ignite. Is that just a demo on how it works? Do you want to elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, so this is, I think it's about a 30-minute session where they present an introduction to Power Automate Desktop, show how it works. So it's a good kind of first video if you've never seen it before, get started. There's another session if you just search on the catalog for Power Automate Desktop, where they show like an invoice coming in and it going through an approval cycle, and then taking the data out of the invoice and capturing it into a desktop application using RPA. So it's like a invoice to pay kind of scenario. So that's another session which is pretty useful to watch, but I would say this is the first one to watch from an RPA perspective.
Yeah, that one sounds like it follows the exact lines as the RPA in a day workshop. So you go through that process utilizing AI Builder to extract the information out the form, and then based on what you get back from there, that gets posted through to Power Automate Desktop and then captures that information in a desktop app. So it's probably along those lines.
Yeah, I think it is that. And what's pretty cool I see is on the Power Automate blog, they actually link to that RPA in a day workshop files. So actually anyone can go download them and just work 100%. Through them at their own pace as well. And It's pretty cool. I can find the link and post it into the chat window. I'm pretty good at posting links. So
I've got the link, so I'll share that just now with everyone. But what we've done with all the in a day sessions, they are publicly available, so anyone has the ability to go and download the content. The one thing just to note with RPA in a day, there's a whole setup instructions for instructors to go and set up an Azure lab environment. Obviously, if you're just testing yourself, you've got full control on your machine, you don't need to do that. The content does also come with a Contoso invoicing app, so a simulated leg with content in already that you can use in the project. So it's a really nice workshop to run through.
Sorry, maybe if I can add as well, there's been a bunch of releases on YouTube from our CAT team. And that's our architect team, and there's a lot of videos on things like this RPA as well as Power Apps, just everything in general. They've just released lots of videos now.
Okay, so that's cool.
Yeah, just
post the link to that.
I just so it's called the Power Platform Architecture series. I've actually just pasted a link in the chat to that as well, and it's phenomenal content. So it's some light bedtime watching.
Perfect. Has anyone played with the new adaptive cards for Teams yet from Power Automate?
No.
Okay. I was messing around with it today. There's a lot of great new features. You've got the whole adaptive card interface that you're working with now. So it's just trying to wrap your head around trying to get information back from it to that. So that looks quite cool. You have a lot more flexibility than you had in the past, where you were just posting the JSON logic into the message body. Now you've got the full adaptive cards canvas that you're using to build out your template, which is really nice to use.
That is
so that's
awesome.
also something that's quite cool. Yeah. Okay. Anything from anybody else? Anyone else here? Anything interesting that they want to share?
Just one thing, Jonathan. There's, I think it's on the 22nd of October. There's a 2-day Power Platform virtual conference that I saw sprung out of nowhere. It seems to be more community-led, but Microsoft is a kind of like headline sponsor, and a few of the VPs are presenting. It seems like it's got really good content. So I'll also just post a link to that conference in the chat window as well.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Michael. Okay, so then with that, Mornay, I'm going to hand over to you to take us through omnichannel and why it's so important.
Thank you very much. Let me just get this up and running. Give me a second.
So it seems like Monet is one of the few people on this call whose surname isn't Hart.
I see there are quite a couple tonight.
It's heartwarming.
Can you guys see me?
It's busy coming through. No, nothing yet.
Sharing is paused until you return to shared window. Give me a second. Let me try again. How about now?
There we go.
So this is my base PowerPoint skills that I'm using now. And if anybody is wondering how I did this, I'll show you. But there's a awesome. I think Scott Hanselman has showed that on YouTube how to get this up and running and working and whatnot.
Is this running with OBS?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll give away all my secrets. But I want to talk today about Omnichannel Engagement Hub. By the way, I made all of this stuff myself. So there's and why is it important, right?
Beautiful.
So when we look around Omnichannel and the Omnichannel Engagement Hub, I want you guys to maybe close your eyes and think of how currently is customer service being handled, right? you phone a number, you wait in a queue, and hopefully somebody answers. We know that, for instance, if I go and I say, I've had this in the past, actually, where I phone and say, my phone line isn't working. And then the people ask me, is this the number that you're phoning from? I'm like, well, if the line isn't working, why would I phone you from it, right? Things like that. And also other things where you're just waiting in a queue and nothing happens. When somebody answers you, and then they need to transfer you into a different queue, what happens? You sit and you wait. And you have to re-explain to that person exactly what was the problem, why did I phone in? And sometimes if you're unlucky, they would even just drop the call, right? So in a nutshell, when we talk around omnichannel engagement, that is where I've got multiple ways of interacting with a central point. And what I mean by that is the world has evolved and we've got multiple ways of communicating with customers. It could be social media, it could be SMS, it could be WhatsApp, it could be telephony, it even could be phone, video calling, those type of things, right? And I think that with COVID happening, it really amplified the way that we engage with a lot of these institutions. I can now have a call with a medical institution over any of my channels rather than having to go in and go this person face to face, right? But that said, is that once again, when we talk around omnichannel, the experience, it's all about customer experiences and how do we get those customers' experience into one centralized place. So let me move to the next slide. Okay, I needed to do that rather. And if you look at the existing way of engaging with customers, that is where we have mainly, I'll send you an email, I go on site, and I visit your website, and maybe there's a chatbot in there somewhere where I can go and chat with you or see what's happening. At the same time is when we look at IoT devices, right? We essentially have got IoT devices in our pockets, our mobile phones. It could also be devices that track your interaction, let's say, for instance, on your vehicle or whatever the case might be. I know a lot of these insurance companies are actually looking at IoT devices that will give them telemetry back about things like your geyser, water pressure, all of those type of things. If we look at going ahead, what is the future landscape looking like? That is my interaction with bots, with live chat, and also with text. And then upcoming is where I have got messaging services, maybe mobile phone devices, voice, and also video. Now, something that you'll see also on those Ignite sessions that Michael shared is that the fact that Microsoft has launched or going to launch a product in Azure called first-party voice services, right? Azure Communication Services. And that will give you the ability to do things like a voice and video and then route it into as an omnichannel experience, right? At the moment, it's very much in preview, but that is the way coming forward in a sense where you would be able to have a voice conversation or a video conversation on a website, and that could be answered either by a physical person or by a bot. Now, when we talk about a bot, and you think about a bot, but bot normally is text. So I go and I type and I get a message back, not the smart bots, right? So they would go and translate the voice into text and then give you a voice message back. So you would have a person on the other end that goes and answers the question, whatever your inquiry is about that. Now, if you look also around why bots and the questioning around, what's the value in having a bot? Now, a bot can answer or engage with customers on all the questions that you get most often in a sense of, what time is your trading hours? How do I get this? How far is that? All of those questions where people usually phone in on the phone and say, listen, I did my application on this day. How far is it? How long do I need to wait? Whatever the case might be, you can automate those processes and then have a bot answer that customer. So your first line of a defense can be a bot. Now, also bots can be smart bots. Now, what we mean by that is that when a bot goes and have a discussion with a person, it doesn't necessarily need to just end with the bot asking you just a basic information like your name, your surname, all of those type of things. It could be intelligent in a sense where I take that information and I offload it into one of our machine learning services. Now, if you think of that, where the power of that comes in, I can be stuck in the middle of the night next to the road with my vehicle not working. I take a picture, I send it through to a bot. Bot analyzes it and says to me, listen here, this is what might be wrong, try the following. And then I don't need necessarily staff on hand for that. I can reallocate staff for things that's higher priority in there. You'll see that on the slide also, it shows the unified routing. Now, the way that we look at omnichannel is that I've got all of these different streams of data coming in, all of these different channels of data coming in. But at the same time, what I need to do is I need to make sure that that data lands, or that communication channels lands in the correct, I want to call it queues, right? So in the right streams. So if I've got a query about my account, it goes to the account. If I've got a query about a product, it goes to the product team. If it's a sale, then it's a sale query, right? So how do we look at that and also make sure that that is handled correctly by the either physical agent or by a bot? Now, if you're familiar in the dynamics world, then this would make total sense to you, because we've got the concept of queues now from, I think, 2011 or even before that, CRM4 even. But the idea around it is that each and every item goes into the respective queue, and then that queue is monitored by people that's assigned to those queue, and you actually literally go and pick items out of that queue. Now, the great thing about this unified routing is that you can start doing more complex routing rules and pushing that messaging between, or that ticket item between these queues based on conditions, right? It could be things like, I've got a high priority customer with a specific SLA, and that needs to be answered within 1 or 2 hours. How do I get that happening? As I put them in a high quality queue or dedicated queue to them. I've got people that's asking me specific questioning about a product that's not working or functioning as it should. I've got a specific queue that deals just with those matters, right? Think of it in a sense where I've got a bot as the first line of communication, and as my second line of communication, that's a physical person that literally takes over when a bot doesn't understand. You'll see at the bottom there, we've got what we call workflow management, case management, knowledge management, resource scheduling, and voice of the customer. Now, if I look at all of those items, right, what it essentially means at the bottom is that I can go, and now let's take the scenario where I'm stuck by the side of the road with my vehicle, and I've started to chat with the bot. The bot gives me a list of items to double check to make sure that maybe it's an electronical fault, or maybe the battery is dead, or whatever the case might be. I might even just ran out of fuel. Now, if I look at those items, somebody needs to come out physically and help me. Remember, I'm stuck by the side of the road. Now, what can happen is that I can log a case, or the bot can actually go and log a case for me. It will go through the knowledge management cases to say, this is what might be wrong in your scenario based on the information that you provided for me. When we look at the resource scheduling part of it, that's where the field services comes in. So you'll also see there's a section there that says agent, supervisor, and technician. That's where the technician will actually really go out and go help me by the side of the road, either bring me petrol or bring me whatever is wrong with my vehicle. And the great thing about it is that all of that information will be handed off to him based on what I provided to the bot, right? If, for instance, a bot doesn't really understand what the problem is, then I can hand it over to a physical agent. But now you must remember, I've been standing next to the road for hours and in the middle of nowhere. And now I'm talking to an agent. And this agent is not giving me the right advice. So I flip my lid, as we as South Africans do, flip my lid. I want to speak to your manager, right? And what I'll show you guys how easy it is that you can go and you can escalate that issue into a manager's view. That manager can also look at the way that you communicate with that customer and also intervene, right? So that's the great part of it, is that you can kind of eavesdrop onto that conversation, or you can be invited into that conversation, see what's going on, take control of it, and help the customer. The last portion of it is what we call the voice of the customer. And essentially the voice of the customer is the post-customer service survey. So you can say, listen here, I really enjoyed the service. Please fill in a souvenir. So when we go and we send you a survey, that is essentially how do you rate the service. You can come up with a bunch of questions. But the great thing about that is that service engine then ties back into what we call the digital feedback loop. And that will help us determine how do we need to improve our service, what works, what doesn't. I might go and say, listen, I'm happy with the service that I got from the agent. And based on that, the agent might get a raise, or even better, get some time off, or whatever the case might be for their KPIs. So what I'm going to focus on today is I'm going to show you guys the portion of omnichannel. And this is why it matters. It's all about giving exceptional customer service to your customers, right? So I'm going to focus on that today and make sure that we can go and give exceptional service into customers. And I'm going to work with, there's multiple channels. I'll just touch on some of them and show you, some of the channels that we have. But I'll show you guys how we integrate into one of the most famous ones, WhatsApp, and then also how that pops up into Omnichannel Engagement Hub. Insights. All right. So let me just go out of my presentation view here. And let me go into, yep. So what we're looking at here is the agent's dashboard. At the moment, it's very empty, it's very lonely. And the reason for that being is that there's no activity happening at the moment. So there's no information that's coming in. But at the same time, what will happen, it will show me exactly the work items that I'm assigned to, what is open and what has been closed. Now, how we determine what is an open or a closed item, think of it as a case that's been resolved or a case that's still pending, right? What I can also do is I can open multiple tabs. So what happens in this case is that from an agent's perspective, I've got this dashboard view, but I can also view all my accounts. I can also view all the contacts that I want to do, and this is customizable, right? So your question is like, well, this is great, but we had this previously somewhere. And I know what you're thinking, right? We had the product called Unified Service Desk. It's still around. Going forward, I believe this web version of the data that we're looking at here is going to replace that. If I just look at the investment that they're making into the omnichannel. Now, if I want to look at how do I set it up, I go to the administration portion of it. And on the left-hand side, I've got in my navigation pane all my different channels of engagement. So if first, for instance, I go to chat, this will be my chat application that I have that I can configure. And this is just a widget that you deploy on top of a website, right? So what will happen is with this chat information, I can go and configure a bunch of information on this. So I can go and say, first of all, I want to copy out this chat widget information that I'm going to embed into a website. You can do that. And then at the same time, you can set up all the different actions or preferences that's available within this chat. Are the people allowed to, upload attachments into the chat, right? Can the guys go and see with the position in the queue, the average waiting time? Do we send them the transcripts? All of those type of things that you can do. At the same time, what we have is this option of surveys. So inside here, you can actually let them complete a specific survey or even have a post survey. Now, once again, if you think about that intelligence customer service that we're talking around, if I go and I complete the survey and say this chat is crap, then I know that I'm not going to be able to do this in the future. Now, going forward, also I can enable video and voice calls, right? So at the moment, what we do is that you can have a conversation, you can escalate that into a video or voice call, So somebody goes and they just have a normal chat. So when I talk about chat, it's literally I type conversation chats on keyboards and things like that. And then if they don't understand what that's happening, then I can go and I can convert that conversation into a voice or video call. Maybe I want to talk to the person, see the frustration on the face or whatever the case might be. When we talk around co-browsing and screen sharing, this is now where we start utilizing third-party ISV applications. So the great thing about this is if you need to help people to say, now we're having this session, they need to maybe fill in a form or provide more details or click somewhere or whatever the case might be, how do you make that happen? And this is where co-browsing comes in. So, hey, Mr. Customer, sure, I can help you with it. Let me view your screen and I can help you determine where to click and what to do, right? The next channel what we have is our SMS. I didn't make any changes. What did I? It's our SMS functionality. And what we have with our SMS functionality is we've got multiple providers for SMS. One of the well-known ones is Twilio. Another one that we have is, I think it's Infobip. And there's also Telesign is the last one that you have for SMS. And essentially all that is if we look at how the omnichannel is structured, once a message comes in from one of those providers, they send it forward into the omnichannel. Then that goes into a queue. Agent picks that up and they have this conversation with that. From a social media perspective, right, we've got integrations once again into Facebook. And from a Facebook application perspective, you'll have this chat application on your Facebook page. So you can literally start having this conversation with that on Facebook. I'm not going to go through all of them, but what I wanted to show you guys is that, let's say I select the WhatsApp one, and WhatsApp, what we do is we work through Twilio, right? So if I have to set up WhatsApp in here, what I have is that I've got the Twilio connector and I've got account username and password that they send. At the same time, I've got a very specific Twilio URL. And also what I've got is I've got a number. So for my test purposes, I've got a US number. But when you sign up with Twilio, you can also request a local South African number. They provide that service, right? Now, the thing to note here is you can see a pattern. So I can say that, it's very easy to configure, and I see the information coming in here, and I've got my channel set up for me, right? But now I've got all of this, but where does it actually go, right? Now, if we look at what we call work streams, the work stream is the glue between what we see from a channel perspective and a queue perspective. If I go into the WhatsApp workstream, I can see how do I distribute this. So we were talking about routing earlier, right? So I can see here that from a WhatsApp workstream is that I take the WhatsApp channel. I can take 30, I want to say conversations, not really conversations, all at once, and close it after 5 minutes of inactivity. At the same time, what we can also specify is what we call context variables. So when I've got variables defined, I can pass that between multiple systems. Twilio might send me additional variables that I want to have. Maybe it's stuff like what's the network that is coming from, the location, the phone, whatever the case might be, and I want to save that data, I can do that as well. If you look at some of the other information that's in here, what we talk about the skills-based routing is that I can route the conversation to people that, for instance, have got a specific skill. When you talk about skills, it's people that's got, let's say, accounting skills, or people that's got, engineering skills, or people that even got skills in, I don't know, helping people by the side of the road, right? The routing item rules here is where I can define when to route to what. So I can say if I've got a specific criteria. So I can say if the item comes in, it's in the WhatsApp workstream, and it maybe contains the word help, then route this to a specific queue, right? So I can specify those type of things in my routing as well. When we look at quick replies, and I'll show you guys actually that, I think that is quite helpful, is that I can go and I can specify very quickly, like almost keyboard shortcuts, that when I go and I type /R, then there's a specific template that pops up, and I can go and push that information back to the customer, right? At the same time here with omnichannel, we've got agent experience interactions. So what I can do is I've got what they call a productivity pane that I can enable, and I'll show you guys a little bit how that works. And a productivity pane is also great for if you need to have additional information or additional things running while you're having this conversation with the customer. And what I mean by that is that I need to go and, for instance, while I'm searching how to resolve this case, at the right-hand side, there might be a screen with questions I need to make sure that I ask the customer. There need to be specific things I need to check off that, all of those type of things you can add into your productivity pane. You can even go as far as embedding a secondary bot into that productivity pane that has context of the conversation that you're having with the customer at the moment, and then goes and then takes that conversation that's in the chat window and goes and pulls third-party systems. So it might be stuff like, hey, I want to find out where's my shipping or my account or whatever, and it picks up those keywords and then goes and pulls the third-party system for you, right? And this one, I think everybody knows that's coming from a normal, can I say the old way of doing things, agent scripts. So when we talk around agent scripts, that is physically what the agent should ask somebody when they log in, like, hi, good day, I am blah, 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 blah. And, we work under guidance. This is our FSP number. Our calls are being recorded, all of those type of agent scripts that they can go through, right? Under the application tab section, and I'm just showing guys the configuration part of it now, but under the application tab section here I can define what in actual fact needs to be displayed here, right? So I can go and I can add additional applications into my navigation bar, menu bar section. And what will happen is once a conversation comes in, it will start populating these menu or action bars for me. It could be a third-party system, it could be a legacy system, it could be even reporting systems that you bring into here. As long as you've got access to it, then you can define it, right? I'm not going to go through the rest, but essentially that is the crux of it. So let's get started. Let me just unlock my mobile phone and bring it up on here. So if I go into the agent, here's the agent portion of it. Mobile phone. I can maybe just clear the chat here. And what will happen now is that when I start having a chat, the first person that will respond is the bot. So if I go, hi, now I've sent that through WhatsApp, it went through Twilio, and if I go into the work stream of my application, in here, what will happen is that in my work stream for WhatsApp, just want to open it quickly, I've got two agents. Is it now in here? Let's go in there. I've got two agents, a physical agent as well as a virtual agent. So the first person that will answer me is in actual fact a bot, because how that works is this bot has got a higher capacity than as a physical agent. So the bot will answer, and then if the bot can't answer, it will actually go over to Ali, right? So now, there we go. It says, may I know your name? So I say, sure, my name is Mornay. And this is just how I set up this bot for me, right? It will ask me my name, and then it will go back. It says, hi, I'm a virtual agent. this is what it can help me with. So now I want to say Fit Med Center.
Mornay, sorry to interject, but that bot, is that Power Virtual Agent? What is your bot?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yes, the Power Virtual Agent is an actual fact a bot. So,
so you build the Power Virtual Agent like you ordinarily would.
Yeah.
You build a PVA, your topic and etc. But instead of it, the conversation coming out on a chat window on a website, the conversation's happening through WhatsApp.
Through WhatsApp, yeah. So we've got very deep coupling between our private virtual agent, and what I'm just doing here is that I'm literally taking a conversation that I'm having with a WhatsApp number and pushing that to the private virtual agent. Thank you, Michael. I forgot to mention that for some reason. So it says, okay, please specify your province. Let me maybe just move this mouse away. And now I'm going to say Gauteng. And, the bot gives you additional, the private virtual agent bot gives you additional, functionality that you can do. So I can also show you guys that if you like. But what's happening behind the scenes is the bot is now going in and querying my common data servers using Flow and bringing that information back to me, right? So now it brings back all of those type of information. And now I'm like, okay, I don't really see what I want. I want to transfer me to an agent. So I just hear transfer to agent, right? And all of these are trigger phases that you specify. You can say, you can probably say, I want to speak to a human or sort of, or whatever the case might be. I almost read there. And then it will say, okay, great, I'll transfer you to an agent. So now what's happening is it's going to transfer me to an agent, and the bot actually goes and hands off this conversation into the physical agent. In this case, it's called Ali, right? Let me just have a say there. There we go. Now it's transferring me to an agent. It says an agent will be with you in a moment. So let's just give it a moment. Maybe close that down. Right. Just waiting for it to come in now. Any second. Maybe reload, see what happens. So what you'll see now, if the demo guards is in my favor, is in actual fact a pop-up that comes in that tells me, listen here, there's an item in the queue, and I can go and pick up this item from the queue, or I can say, no, I'm going to reject it. I'm just waiting for this to actually connect and load. So as you can see here, also what happened, it's already in my work stream. The presence of an agent will be shown here. So I'm just waiting for it to actually come through to me. So that they just load quickly. Come now.
Mornay, will you also show us what your Power Virtual Agent kind of config looks like as well?
Yeah, sure. Let me do that while I'm waiting for this to load.
And I've had a similar issue to what you're having there before when I use in private browsing. For some reason, when I use in private browsing, I seem to have that issue where the status for that agent's not green and the messages don't arrive. I don't know why, but that seems to happen to me.
Instead of in private browsing, you should be using the multiple profiles in the new Edge.
Yeah, I have an issue with that as well, actually. It's got something to do with, it's got something to do with the browser on corporate devices trying to automatically sign in to the corporate network. And this is like a demo environment, so it gets confused because there's a silent sign-in that happens behind the scenes. So that causes issues. So it's actually, this is quite common. If you're using in private, it's much better when you have the real environment. But, yeah.
I'm going to try it one more time. And at the same time, I'm just going to bring up that private virtual agent. As you guys can see, my internet is also a bit slow in this side for some reason. Come now.
And Morne, selecting that item in the queue, that won't open, hey?
So I can do that, sure. So what I can do is I can pick this item from a queue, right? So because this item was sent to me, let me just see if I can open it here. Okay, I think what's happening is this thing is still signing in. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of time to sign in. And while I'm waiting for that to launch, let me do this. So what I'm showing here is what we call the private virtual agent, right? So this is my bot essentially. And I've got a canvas here, and I've got what we call topics. Now topics is just items of discussion, right? So it is, how do I start a conversation with you, and then what is the flow around that conversation? So we were talking about fitment centers. I can in actual fact go and see what is the trigger phases around that. And I can go in and I go to my authorizing canvas. Authoring canvas. Let me maybe try this in a different browser as well. While we wait for that. No, sure, this thing is, my browser just doesn't love me at the moment. But yeah, I see my trigger phases, and then I can in actual fact go and say, you know, what is this, what I want to populate back to the customer. So if I click on a little plus sign, you'll see here it says ask a question, call to action, or show a message. Now what I'm doing here is I'm showing a message. But at the same time, what I can do is, I ask that specific questions for the person. And I say, you know, please provide your province. And I actually give them a bunch of options, right? What I then do is I save that response of that options into a variable that I've defined. And then what I do is I just say, great, thank you. I'll check the fitment center, and then I provide the variable back again. Now here I go and I call a Power Virtual Agent flow, Power Automate flow, that will go and search for fitment centers based on that input parameter or that variable that I've just set. So if I go into here with my flow, and I go look, and I can see the flow there. It's a very simple flow. If I go and edit it, I'm not going to authenticate that now. But if I go and edit the flow, all that it does, it goes and takes that parameter and passes that parameter that I sent through, and goes and queries the data of the backend side. So what I do here is, in actual fact, I've got a JSON file, right? That I populate. I pass the JSON, and then what I do is I go and filter that JSON results, and I get the value, and I return that value as markdown in my case into a text variable that I then pick up in here. It says your Power Automate outputs one text, and that's the text variable that I receive. Then what I do is I just post that text variable back for the customer, right? I continue asking more and more questions to literally go and, I think, funnel down the questioning into a very specific manner. And on my second portion is that I take that other information I call a secondary flow. Just want to see if this thing is, it's not happy with me today. I go and I call on the second flow. I can in actual fact go and show you guys how that also looks, but very similar, that I take that information and then I think this one I go and get that information back and populate also markdown. I do a little bit of things different here. I go and call the CDS here. And what I do here is I've got the province and the fitment center because that is input parameters. I go call the CDS here. And then what I do is I go and do what we call markdown. Markdown is a language similar to HTML. It's just a little bit different in the sense of the context. And I generate the markdown in here with things like emojis and telephone numbers, addresses, and also at the same time with things like I don't know if anybody's used this before, but the big maps, right? So I'll show you guys how that looks as well. And then I return that into my virtual agent, and my virtual agent goes and then just populates that message into the fitment center and asks me, is there anything I can help you with? And then if you say no, then you start over. Then you say goodbye. Otherwise, start over the conversation. Now, to show you also how easy it is to integrate this into the omnichannel engagement framework, is as easy as going to the cog here. And then I've got an option there that says transfer to agent. If I click on the transfer to agent, what I need to do here is I need to specify what is my omnichannel engagement that it will be handed off to. It shows me I'm currently connected into this environment, and this is where my omnichannel, it also shows me certain things like, how do I configure it, how do I disconnect, and I can also refresh and change that if I want to as well. Now, from a bot perspective, how do you actually transfer this into a physical agent, right? So if I say any of these messages that says transfer to an agent or escalate or whatever the case might be, inside of my canvas where I design my agent as well, I've got an option here that says transfer to an agent. Now, I can also go and I can add specific variables in here that I want to send through from a bot perspective. It could be variables that I've defined. So I don't know if you guys remember, but when I was chatting to the bot, it asked my name. So I can pass that in there as well. And also there's all the key phrases, and then you can just do that. It will transfer to an agent. Now, the great thing about the Power Virtual Agent perspective is that when I want to go and publish it, I can publish it into multiple channels, right? So think of it in a sense that I can have this on my custom website, on a mobile app, in Teams and Facebook and Skype, or whatever the case might be, as a virtual agent. And then when that virtual agent do not understand what I'm asking it to do, then it hands it off, and then that's where omnichannel picks it up. I'm just going to try to log in from here into Chrome. Maybe I'm got more luck in Chrome. Give me a second. Also drag that off screen so I don't show you all my secrets.
Jonathan and Morna, I just want to do a quick check-in with regards to time.
Yeah, we're coming up to the last bit where we're going to need to stop because I'm going to need about 10 or 15 minutes or so to take everyone through my things.
Okay. So Morne,
Right.
maybe like your 2 minutes, and then I think
2 minutes,
okay.
and then I'll be done. Yeah. I just want to quickly see if I can get Ali's working in here. But what will happen is that from an agent perspective, they get the work item that they can work on, and then they can also, let me just see if I can actually open this. Come on, Chrome, make my day. Yeah, but just to maybe wrap this up, they get their work item that they can go and action, and this will be the centralized work, I almost want to call it their work area that they work in, and serve the customer on, in a sense where, you know, I can go and have a direct chat with this customer and a direct conversation with this customer. So it seems just this time, I'm just going to give it another 2 more minutes, but you'll see that on the screen at the bottom right-hand side, so you'll see my credentials on the left-hand side. On the bottom right-hand side, there's 2 links there. The one is aka.ms OC Hub. That will take you through a deep dive of an actual agent and how the agent operates, and have a chat in the omnichannel. And then at the same time, the OC Docs will help you how to set this up and how to get this app and running. In today's session, unfortunately, I guess what happened here is that because I can't sign in as an agent, it's still busy launching the dialogue. What's happening is that, you know, I won't be able to action these items that's inside of the item work section. Jonathan, what I want to do is I'll give it back to you at the moment, and then as soon as this is up and running, or as soon as this present change to available, then I'll just take back over again.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good. Okay, so let's bring this up again. Okay, so what I'm going to take you through now is some of the integrations of the Power Platform directly into Microsoft Teams. So what was Dataflex? So if you're having a look at the screen now, I'm logged into Teams, and now I want to start bringing in Power Apps, Power Automate Flows, Power Virtual Agents directly into my Teams channel. Now, in the past, when you were working with Power Apps, you were able to bring them in. You would build your app in the authoring canvas, and then you would go and say export to Teams. It would download a file. What you would do then is come to the ellipses, come to more apps, and you'll see it down over here. There's an option to upload a custom app, and then you would just bring in that zip file and add it in there. Though now what we're going to be doing is showing you how you can start building apps directly in Teams. So when you first get started, you're going to have to go to this menu. So that ellipses, go to more apps, and then when you land on this screen here, you can just simply search for Power Apps, and you'll see I've got the Power Apps connector over here. If I open that up, I've already connected, but you would see an add option here. Now, the first time you add it, it does take a few minutes before it gives you access, and then also when you build your first app in a team, it also takes a couple of minutes. So I'm just going to show you that experience as well. But we've also got Power BI, so you can bring in Power BI as well, and also Power Virtual Agents. But let's just show you what the Power Apps one looks like. So once you've brought it in, this is what the view that you're going to have. So we start off, we're going to give you some templates to get started. Let's just refresh the page here. It's running into a problem. Okay, so Power Apps. We do have 3 templates to help get you started, to help get you to understand how these things come together, how to work with the tables, how to work with the various apps. I will show you a demonstration of this specific app shortly, but what I'm going to do is to get started, I can simply go and create an app, and this lets me choose which team I want to add my app to. So I can just simply go and choose from the list of teams that I have, go and choose one that I'm working with, and go and create. Now, this does take a couple of minutes to get going. So just know when you do start out, this can take like 3 or 4 minutes just to load everything up, get everything ready inside your tenant. But you can close it, carry on working, and it is going to let you know once it's done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump to one that's already been built just for the sake of time. I can see there, okay, this one was in progress. I can see that there is an app inside here. If I go see all, it's going to break that out for me. So now I can see I've only got an app created. It's just a blank canvas. I clicked on the wrong item. So if I want to go edit this, this is going to take me to the editing canvas. And inside here, I'm going to go and I'll be able to create the various tables that I'm using. For those who are familiar with the CDS, same thing as we were working with in CDS, we now got entities that we're defining. So think of a table as an entity if you're coming from that CDS wall. And then you would go and specify all your properties. So here we go, very similar layout to what we had when we were working with the Canvas-based apps. So we've got some sample data inside there. We've got a sample gallery and a sample form, but I can go and create a new table. Let me just call this account for now. You can go see, I can go and set a plural name if I wanted to. Go and create. And now it's built out my table for me. So I've got my first field that I'm going to use. I can come in and put in your telephone number. Let's just go in here and recall this a phone entity, go and create. Let's go and add email. I think there is an email one. Yes, there is. And I can go and add, I can start entering data in here to start capturing information, but I'm not going to add anything else here. And as you can see, we've got the auto save item constantly up. So as you're adding stuff, it is going to be saving your changes automatically for you. Now you can see once it loads, it's part of my data sources that I'm able to use. So I can bring these entities and these items that I'm working with and link it directly to that specific data source. So I've got an accounts entity. Let me just attach this data source here to accounts as well. And my items are there. So now I can go and preview the app. I can go and create a new record. Jonathan, 567, and John at Microsoft.
I thought you were going to give us your real telephone number there.
Everyone's got my number anyway, so it doesn't really matter. There we go. Now it's gone and created that new record. Okay. And then you'll see you've got a lot of the same features that you had in the original one. So we can come in, go to the tree view, add items. So you can see there are 2 containers that are built out inside here. And then we've got the form, we've got some overlays, buttons and items inside there. So you can go and add in items and build it just like you would have inside the Canvas portion. But now when I'm ready to make this available to the rest of my team, I can simply go and publish this to teams. So what this is going to do is it's going to save the app, going to publish it to everyone, and it's going to give you the option if you want to post this into the team as well. So this does take a few minutes. So there we go. I can choose which tab I want to bring it into. I'm just going to add it as a tab inside the app. You see, I can add it in as multiple channels in there if I wanted to. I'm just going to save it to the general tab. Save and close. And then there we go. Now, if I go to that channel, now I just want to remember which channel this was in. So product team. And as you can see, if I go back to the bold one, I can see all the teams, all the apps that I've created, all the teams that are associated with it, and then I'll be able to view those items. But let's just go and check that team. So ACC one. That's it. There we go. New post has come in. And there's my app over there. It's already created it as an additional item at the top, or an additional tab. And then I can start interacting and capturing the information. Yeah. Okay, so let's just go back quickly to Power Apps. I want to show that other one that we did. So it was Project Team. This is one of the templates that we built out. This is the Project Team. I remember which one. I might be filtering on the wrong one.
And Jonathan, I saw one of the apps that they've got is an inspection app, and it's pretty cool actually. I haven't played with it, but from what I see, inspection's pretty funky.
Yes. So as you can see, this is what populates with that template. So if I go back in here quickly, you can see some of the templates that are available. So we've got inspection, employee ideas, as well as issue reporting. So when you deploy the inspection one, this is all the items that it includes inside there. So you can see there are a number of tables that it has brought in, as well as 2 applications. So we've got our inspection app, as well as our managing the inspections. So both of those are Canvas-based apps. So if I wanted to edit them, I could come in, select the item, go in and edit over here. So if you look in the top left-hand corner, once it's selected, I'm able to edit it. While that's busy loading though, let me just jump back in here, go to Teams, and then we can see what that looks like from the Teams perspective. There we go. All right, a specific item that I was working on. No, it was finance. No, there we go. So if I open up the inspection app, this is going to take me to the template that we inspect. So here's my app. I can start interacting with it. So I can go perform an inspection. I can go choose an area that I want to focus on. So let's go to food. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's pulled the forms through. I don't think all the forms are there, but we can go and check that out. So if we go manage inspections, this is the management portion of the app. And then we can see, okay, which apps have been pushed through. I can go look at inspection forms. So I can see there's a detailed walk and the main store walk. So these are the forms that are available. If I wanted to go and create a new form, I can simply go and say new inspection form and then customize the look and feel and what it looks like from there. Okay. But as you can see, there are a number of components that are involved in that specific item. Okay, so I've got the app open here. If I go look at the tree view, you can see there are a number of pages built out on this application for us to start seeing how we are doing certain things. And then I'm able to save it, preview, and publish to Teams, and I can manage the pins directly there as well. Okay. So that's on the Power App side. I can also go in and look at Power BI. So if I open up Power BI, this is going to default to the last report that I had opened. If it is my first time going in, it is going to take me to my home page. So then directly from here, you can see it's the normal Power BI interface. I can directly start getting data directly from here, from various services, start building out my reports. Otherwise, I can simply go in and have a look at certain items. So if I want to look at like the location readiness, and let's go and look at the specific reports. So I'm able to do all of this directly in the browser, well, directly in Teams. And what's nice is it's going to save your pins, save your progress of where you are. So if you've got custom filters done on the report, when you go out and you come back in, those are going to remain the same. It's not like if you are pinning a dashboard as an additional tab within a Microsoft team, it is already going to be available there for you directly. Okay.
Jonathan, sorry, my agent is logged in.
Is your agent logged in? Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to show one last thing with the Power Virtual Agents and show you how you can get started with that as well. And then we can just switch over to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Power Virtual Agents, just like we had in Teams, well, sorry, Power Apps, you have the ability to go and start now. Going to bring you an option to choose which team this chatbot is going to be created in. Let's choose commercial lending and continue. Now, once again, this is going to take a few minutes to get set up, pre-populate the items with everything, and then you can start working on your conversational agent and building the bot. Okay, that's always a great sign. Let's try refresh one more time. Let's just put it into our product team where we've got something in already. That looks a bit better. And there we go. So let's just call this demo bot. Great. And then we've got the same authoring canvas that Mornay took us through earlier to help us start creating a bot that's inside of that channel to help our teammates perform certain tasks, help us automate some processes that we may have for knowledge management. A number of other items are available. So check it out. It should be available in your tenants. Michael, you mentioned earlier on in the week that you had some of your tenants that it wasn't available in. Did you ever pick up what was happening there?
Yeah, and actually there's a few people that have posted in the chat window that they get an error when they try and use this, that it says we are currently not available in your region. And essentially my research thus far has basically indicated that if your team's instance is in South Africa, then this preview is not currently available to you. So you will get that until they resolve that. Sorry, I just had a question. So when you embed now Power Apps inside of Teams through what you were showing us here, which internally we call Project Oakdale, one of the great things is you can use your standard M365 licenses in order to do that. So you get access to this version of CDS that would ordinarily be premium. And that's pretty cool because CDS has some great capabilities. It's not all of CDS, but some of CDS. So that's cool. When I do something like a Power Virtual Agent, do you know what the license implication is if I'm embedding a Power Virtual Agent like you're doing here into a team?
Nothing has been mentioned yet. Well, I haven't heard anything yet on the license implications. Because it's still in preview, I think we'll only learn more about the license implications a bit later once it goes GA.
Okay, cool. Although David's indicated here you need a PVA license.
Oh, do you need a PVA license?
Yeah, so I'll go with what David says.
Okay, okay, perfect.
Yeah, so I think so Oakdale is just for CDS and access from Power Apps, Power Automate, and these sort of things. But PVA sits outside of that, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, no, perfect. Awesome. Okay, any other questions? Okay, perfect.
This is awesome. Thanks, Jonathan.
Check it out. Let us know. And with that, I'll hand over back to Mornay.
Thank you. Whoever, am I muted or not?
No, I can hear you.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Try now.
Thank you. Whoever made a offering to the demo gods, thank you very much. Right. So what I wanted to show you guys is here. Now this is my WhatsApp on my phone, and what happened is here it says Ali has joined the conversation. Ali is in actual fact a physical agent, and what happened is I had a pop-up here about the conversation that's coming in, if I want to accept it or not. I had to accept it because it counts down. So if I don't accept it, then essentially Ali is not going to get this conversation. And Jonathan was still showing his awesomeness, so he accepted it, right? Now, what you'll see here is my chat canvas I've got in here. And this is essentially all of that information that I had the conversation with the bot with. So that whole context is being sent through here. And as you can see here, it shows the internal message from that's been sent through, and then also all of the other messages that's been sent through. Now, from a navigation point of view, I've got a public and I've got internal. So internal, I can send a message to whoever is involved in this chat, right? So what I mean by that is maybe I want to involve our accounting people into this chat and say, hey, listen here, can you help me out, or whatever the case might be. I can start adding people into the conversation, have internal conversation with them. I'm just going to keep it public for now, but I can also do specific things around this, take notes. I can go and I can transfer to a different agent or supervisor at the same time as I can, add agents, or I can consult with them as well, right? So what I want to do here, I think somebody's smoking a pipe, by the way, you can hear that, is that I just want to say hi, for instance, back. And then from a WhatsApp perspective, let me just go back into the WhatsApp. I keep unlocking this phone. I'm going to pull this up and have it here in real time. There I can see my conversation. Please can I not spell? And whatever the case is, I send that information, it will populate in my chat window here now. Now, what you'll see, what will happen is that in my center console here, I can go and I can populate details. I can search for a customer. If I had this customer's information, like the mobile number, it will populate that for me. It shows me some information around the conversation details. I can also go and search for existing cases that's linked to this, right? Now, this is where all of that information comes in from a smart agent perspective, that I can go and take the conversation context and keywords in here and start populating the center here. What you guys also will see, I'm just going to minimize that, is that I've got a tab here called knowledge articles. And what I can do is I can go and I can search our knowledge article base for maybe a potential answers for this customer. Now, how that works, it is also linked into case titles. It's also linked into the conversation here. So as soon as I go in here and I say, I want to go search for a customer, let's call it Karen there, and I want to go and maybe have a look for issues that's related to this person. It could be that, or I can create a new case, and all of this will populate in this centralized place. What you'll see here is just this information around the cases that are just selected. Once I've selected the customer, more information is populated. And once again, I can look into more and more information on the patient, notes, tasks. All of this that I have is a 360 view of the customer and how I can help them. At the same time, what you can have is I can go and I can now go search for the knowledge articles. I can go and I can say, how can I help you? Come on. And that will just send back a WhatsApp message. I can go and search in here for the knowledge articles that is available. And then also I can perform additional tasks as well. I can go to my activities and you see how it populates all these different tasks with things that I can do for this customer. So inside of this activities pane, what I will be able to do is go and create either new task, or email, appointment, a phone call, whatever the case is with this customer. Now, what I have here, what you guys are looking at, is what we call the Kanban feature. So if I do have activities, it will populate up in here. Let's actually just create a task. Leave it as open. Then I can very quickly go and, let's say phone customer, right? And I want this to be about Karen. So I can go and I can do that, I can save that. And what I'll be able to do is just go and populate the information on the form and move that around within the Kanban board. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll just leave it there. If there's any questions, just let me know. And if there's any more functionality that you guys would like to see, also let me know, right? So what I've shown you guys, just to maybe recap, is how do we go and have a WhatsApp conversation with somebody, how to bring that in, how to look at the 360 view of this customer, how I can have multiple tabs to interact with that customer. I can also do searches and also look at all of the information in here. I think I'm going to leave it there. What I want to do is just maybe end the conversation here with the customer and say done, right? And from a just to show you guys the very last conversation is it will in actual fact say that Ali has ended the conversation. That's it. Any questions? Anybody? Hello?
That looks awesome.
Looks
Thanks,
awesome,
man.
sir.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you. I'm glad it worked at the end.
It just feels like that when you send an internal message where everything turns red, it actually feels like it should be the opposite, where if it's public, it should be red, and you should be aware of the fact that this is going to go outside. You're going to send this to external parties, but very cool.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like I said, this data is all within the CDS, right? So what you would be able to do is you'll leverage all of this data. I can look at all the conversation history. I can do analytics on it. I can have it in Power BI. You know, you can also report on that. There's a bunch of things that you can do. So I just want to move that from open to completed, and then it will say my task has been completed. This is also just a normal feature that's inside of Dynamics that I thought is pretty cool. The Kanban boards. But thank you guys so much. I hope it was valuable.
Thanks, Monet.
No, thank you, Monet.
Sharing. Yeah, that was great.
This is awesome.
Michael, do you have anything that you wanted to cover in your cookbook today? We've got 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left.
Yeah, I had about an hour's worth, but you know, I'll just wrap it up into 3 minutes. Yeah, I'll do something quickly. How's that?
Perfect.
Share. Screen number 1. So I have to be honest. None of this is my work. Okay, so this is actually a URL that Mornay shared with me last week from a chap by the name of Matthew Devaney, I guess is the way you pronounce it. And I'll share the hyperlink. But he's got this article on 7 lesser known Power Apps functions. And I thought I'll just do one for now. That was pretty cool. I'm like, I should have used this in so many apps that I've done. And that is the use of a function. And you basically, you know you're a guru when you can pronounce the name of this function, which I cannot. I think it's coalesce. Anyway, so basically he talks about this function, this Power Apps function, which is pretty cool. And what it does is it looks at all the arguments in the function and returns the first argument, or the first value from an argument that isn't blank or an empty string. Okay, so what it means is you basically can write much shorter statements. So the first example is basically, this is how you would write this test case, if you wanted to call it that, if you didn't have coalesce. So you'd basically say, if this is not blank or empty, then return it. But if it is blank, don't return it. And if it is blank, then go on to the next one and carry on like that. Whereas you could just write it like this, and value 1, value 2, comma, value 3, comma, value 4, as many as you wanted, and it'll return the first value that isn't empty, or an empty string, which is pretty cool. And so the one that I thought was pretty cool is often I end up writing patch statements like this. So this patch statement allows you to write data to a data source, whether it's SharePoint or CDS, doesn't really matter. And you generally end up with something like this. Like I've seen this so many times, where the patch statement, the way you write a record, if you're trying to update an existing record versus creating a new record, is different. So what ends up happening is you have this if statement that says, try and look up this record in the data source. And if the record doesn't exist, well, then it's got to be a new record. And if it does exist, well, then I'm updating an existing record. So this is essentially saying, okay, well, if the record does exist, use the patch command to update the existing record versus this one over here, which is create a brand new record. So you typically write it like this, which is quite long, a bit tedious to write, a bit hard to read. Whereas if you use the coalesce function, you can essentially just do it as one line, which looks like this, which is just so much better, easier to read, and less, code to go and have execute. So that was my kind of like little tip for the day. It's go and read his article. He's got a few other cool tips and tricks there. And yeah, so this was just. And so with that, I'll end, and I'll take this hyperlink and I'll paste it into the window, the chat window, and then you've all got it. And back to you, Jonathan, dude. That's awesome. My
Thanks,
quick
Mike.
Overview in 4 minutes.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot for that. Okay, so with that, thank you, everyone. I just want to open up the floor and see if there are any questions from anyone on the call, any comments, anything you would like to add.
Yeah, I think just quickly on Matthew's work, he's built a game in Power Apps called Pipe Dream. I don't know if you've guys seen it, but it's absolutely phenomenal. That's where even if you get access to the code, you still can't figure out what the hell it's doing. It's really phenomenally good. So I'll actually post a link to that as well.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, with that, thanks everybody. Appreciate your time tonight. Hope you found this worthwhile. As usual, if you have any comments, please post them to the groups. Let us know if there's anything that you're particularly interested in seeing, and we can see how we can incorporate it in. Okay, so with that, thanks everyone. Have a good evening further. Chat to you next month. Bye.
Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone. Have a good evening.